The Whistler of Black Hollow. In a village nestled between rolling hills and surrounded by thick woods, there was a dark place that everyone feared: Black Hollow. Few dared to venture into the forest after dusk, for it was said to be haunted by a restless spirit. The villagers spoke in hushed tones of a figure known only as the Whistler. Many years ago, there was a man named Thomas who lived on the edge of the village. He was a quiet, solitary man, always keeping to himself. People said he had a strange look in his eyes, deep, black eyes that never seemed to blink. Thomas spent his days cutting wood and carrying it to the village for fire. But at night, the villagers would hear it, the haunting, melodic whistle echoing through the woods. It was not a normal tune. The music sounded twisted and sorrowful, as though it carried a secret pain. Some claimed the whistle came from deep within Black Hollow, while others believed it was Thomas himself, sitting by the ancient oak tree, lost in his dark thoughts. There were rumors that Thomas had a tragic past. Some said he had once been in love, but his beloved was taken from him by a mysterious illness. Others whispered that he had made a pact with something dark in the forest, hoping to bring her back, only to lose himself in the process. One fateful night, during a fierce storm, Thomas vanished. His axe was found abandoned near the oak tree, its blade buried deep into the earth, but there was no trace of Thomas. The villagers searched the woods, calling out his name, but all they found was the wind carrying the sound of that same eerie whistle, growing louder with each passing hour. Days turned into weeks, and Thomas was presumed dead. But the whistling did not stop. It continued to echo through the village at night, sometimes soft, like a distant memory, and other times loud and sharp, as though it were calling out to the living. The villagers began to believe that Thomas had become the Whistler, cursed to roam the woods for all eternity. The brave, or perhaps foolish, who ventured into Black Hollow in search of answers never returned. A few of them claimed to have heard the whistle growing louder as they ventured deeper into the forest. Then, the air would grow still, the trees silent, and the whistling would turn into a low, menacing hum. The last thing they would hear was a voice, whispering their name before the darkness consumed them. Years passed, and Black Hollow remained off-limits. The village elders would tell the children stories of the Whistler, warning them never to stray near the forest after nightfall. Some believed that if you listened closely enough, you could hear the whistling from the edge of the woods, where the trees parted just enough to let the wind carry the sound. One cold winter night, a young man named William, eager to prove his courage, decided he would uncover the truth of the Whistler once and for all. Armed with nothing but a lantern, he set off into the woods as the moon rose high in the sky. The wind howled through the trees, and the deeper he went, the louder the whistle became. It was as if the forest itself was alive, breathing in the dark. After what seemed like hours of walking, William reached the old oak tree. The whistle was deafening now, but there was no sign of anyone. He called out for Thomas, for the spirit, anything. The only reply was a chilling silence, followed by a voice, low, raspy, and distant, whispering his name. In that moment, the trees began to shake, and the ground trembled beneath his feet. The whistle grew frantic, and suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared before him. It was Thomas, or what had once been Thomas, his eyes black as night, his lips twisted in a sorrowful grin. His hand reached out toward William, beckoning him to follow. The next morning, the villagers found William's lantern by the oak tree, but there was no sign of him. His disappearance added to the growing legend of the Whistler. No one dared speak of him again, for it was believed that once you heard the whistle, you were marked. And like those before him, William had become a part of Black Hollow's dark mystery. To this day, on stormy nights, the villagers can hear the faint whistle on the wind, growing louder as midnight approaches. Some say it is Thomas, still wandering the woods, forever lost to the darkness. Others believe the whistler is the forest itself, angry and vengeful, waiting for the next soul to claim. No matter what the truth may be, one thing remains certain. Black Hollow is never truly quiet, and its whistle will never fade.